Good to see you, Will. Just want to spend some time talking with you today about you and your business and your approach to working with sellers, that ever elusive seller, and especially in this market. So, for the uninitiated, Will, tell us a little bit about you, how you got into real estate, how long you've been doing it, where you're at. Just give us the Will Dixon rundown.
Sure. Well, thanks, Sean. So I'm Will Dixon. I have been in real estate since 2004. Previously, I was in the jewelry business. So I've been in the business world in Rapid City, oh gosh, since probably 1985. So I'm an old timer. I've been around. I know a lot of people in our area. I know a lot about our area. So I've just been here for a long time. I got to real estate in 2004. Just got kind of tired of what I was doing, and I always thought real estate was interesting, and took my test and joined Prudential, which turned into Keller Williams. So I've really been in the same office for 20 years.
Awesome. So you haven't really bounced around at all.
No,
You've just
not at
really
all.
kind of stayed put. And I don't know about you. In my experience, that doesn't seem the case. I tend to see lots of people bouncing around, but you've been very stable and in one spot building your business. Is that fair to
Yep,
say?
that is true. I like our owner broker, David, and I've just been with him for 20 years. I have no reason to move.
Sure. Tell us a little bit about some of the roles and responsibilities and things you've done over the years, over the course of your career to kind of get where you're at. I know you have done some other things within real estate and you've got a vast expertise, but I just want you to describe that a little bit and kind of share some of your expertise with our listeners.
So I'm one of the brokers here in our office. We've got three brokers and what they call a responsible broker. You've
Okay.
got a designated broker who's the main guy, and then you've got everybody underneath you is a designated broker. And that's what I am. So I answer broker questions for other agents in our office. We've got about 100 agents.
Okay.
I get calls all the time from agents asking my opinion or how to word something. How do I negotiate this? It is kind of fun because no real estate deal is the same. Everything's different. So it really gets me thinking too, and it kind of keeps me sharp. So I do that. I do classes for new agents to teach them about the real estate forms that we use and how to fill them out properly. There's a
Sure.
lot of other agencies where we'll get an offer in and it's not filled out. I had a quick story. I had an agent one time got me a purchase agreement and I looked at it and I go, how did you do this? It's half filled out. It's not filled out. She goes, oh, I sent it to my buyer and he filled it out.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm thinking she could have probably benefited from being in my class because you're not supposed to do that. So anyway, she's no longer in business.
Well, surprise, right? Yeah, surprise. So you've got quite a swath of experience and a spectrum of your abilities within real estate. I know that. I just wanted you to be able to share that as well so people
Mhm.
kind of know about you. Before we jump into working with sellers and taking listings specifically, share with us a little bit about your thoughts on the current market, whether it's work buyers or sellers, but kind of give us an overview. What do you think's going on with the market right now?
Personally, I think there's business going on. People are buying and people are selling. Not as crazy as it was a few years ago. But if you have to buy and you have to sell, it's happening.
Okay.
There's not a lot of sellers out there that are saying, hey, I want to move just because they want to move or get another house and get rid of their 3% mortgage for a 7% mortgage. So that's the challenge there. On the buyer's side, the same thing, 7% mortgage. We're just going to wait it out a little bit. We're going to see if the interest rates go down. I really feel that if the interest rates would come down 6 or below,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, 6 or below is that mark. people are going to start coming out of the woodworks looking for homes to buy.
Okay.
So anyway, I think there's always going to be people out there wanting to buy and sell. The interest rates are really keeping it right now, kind of keeping people on the fence.
Yeah. From an inventory of homes on the market perspective, where are you guys at in your market?
We just had that conversation the other day in our market center meeting. We are a little bit ahead of last year. So it seems like we've got a little more inventory. Our price point keeps going up. Right now, the average price of a listing in Rapid City, I believe, is like $390.
Okay.
So don't quote me on that one, but it's right around there.
Okay.
And it went up. It went up from last year about 4%. So, which kind of in step goes with the appreciation. So when we start talking about sellers and how I determine price and things like that, I always look at appreciation as well when I'm pricing a house to list.
Sure.
It used to be 4%.
Mm-hmm.
If you bought a house 5 years ago, you could almost take that price that you paid for it and do a 4%, 4 to 5% appreciation for 5 years. And you'll be pretty close to what the comparable homes would be.
Okay.
We're in that 5%, 4 to 5% appreciation range.
Okay.
And maybe a little bit more because 4 years ago, things were going crazy. So things went up 10.
Yeah. Yeah, the things maybe accelerated a little bit more. But I think what you're trying to say as well, that over time, it's going to go that way. It's going to go up. And I think historically, if we look back, that's been the case. It's gone up. Maybe periods of dipping or falling, but always back on the rise.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a guy the other day when I was doing my phone calls. And this guy goes, I'd like to buy in South Dakota. He goes, but I'm waiting for the prices to go down. And I told him, well, I think your interest rates are going to go down before your prices go down. And he goes, I don't think so. He goes, the way I see it, everything is about doubled. Things are priced about double of what they should be.
Interesting.
So, yeah, you just kind of let those guys think what they want, but I just don't see it. I don't see the prices going down that much.
That's interesting because I call it noise. The consumer, the average consumer who's not in and around real estate every day like you are, they hear snippets of things in the news or on social media that influences their thinking. Will, what is it that you do to maintain your market knowledge so that when you're talking to consumers, it's accurate, it's based in data and not just things have doubled? What do you do to bolster your market knowledge and be the real expert that consumers need?
That's a great question. So we have our multiple listing service. They've got a lot of great tools on there, and we can go on and we can plug in areas of town. We can plug in areas of the Black Hills, certain cities. I can do Rapid City, I can do Spearfish, Hot Springs, Custer, or I can do the southeast part of town, the southeast part of Rapid City, or a subdivision. We can get in there and break it down, and I could go for the last month. You know, how many houses went on the market last month? How many went under contract? You know, I can spread it out for 6 months. So let's say, for instance, you're selling a house in the Sheridan Lake Road area. I can break that down to Sheridan Lake Road and do a market analysis on your house and show you that houses in your specific area, we had 5 houses close in the last 2 months. And this is the price. This is how the houses compare to your house. So I've always got that knowledge right at my fingertips. A couple clicks away and we have that information.
I just want to add in for the listeners that that's important because a lot of times the news that's being shared is a national sort of picture, but real estate's a very local and unique experience. What your
Yeah.
experience in your area and niche is very different from another area in the country. So it's not
Yep.
always apples to apples. It's definitely
Right.
apples to oranges. Is that fair?
That's very fair. There's a lot of times when I sit and I listen to the news and you hear what they're saying, and I'm thinking, that's not even really what it's doing here,
Yeah.
so it really is. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering about what your house is worth, don't listen to the national news. Give me a call or another agent a call, and they can do a market analysis for you.
No, we'll give you a call. That's we're giving
Yeah,
you
you give, yeah, I would like that
a
for sure.
So let's shift a little bit. Talk to me about broad overview since we're focused on working with sellers and listings. Walk us through your soup to nuts process working with your sellers and listings that you take.
Okay. So maybe from you call me and so,
I pick up the phone. Will, I want to sell my house. What
okay, great.
next?
Great. I'm going to ask you questions about your house. I'm going to talk about a market analysis. I'm going to set an appointment to come visit your house. So I'm going to see when it's available. I will go to your house. I have an MLS sheet that I bring with me. I take notes on it, ask you about the house. You walk me around it. And then I sit with you and I'll ask you if you have questions of me. I'll answer those questions. I'll explain the process. I'll come back. I'll do a market analysis. I'll come back and present it. And then we'll do the listing paperwork and talk about marketing, how we're going to market the house. And
So
that's about it.
in my experience, and probably yours as well, at times we as listing agents, we might be competing with another agent. There might be another
Yep.
agent that consumer's talking to. So
Yep.
what is it that you would tell a consumer that this is what you're going to get from me and why I'm the best choice? I want
Yep.
you to a little
Okay.
humble brag for a minute, buddy.
Well, I feel like I'm very detailed when it comes to a market analysis. I did a market analysis one time for a gentleman and his wife. He called me up after that and he says, "Hey, Will, thanks for your presentation." He goes, "We're going to go ahead and list with you. And here's why." He said, "I really loved the detail in your presentation. I'm not just going to print out some sheets and say, here you go. I've got comparables. I've got adjustments on the CMA. I'm going to show you in spreadsheet form the different homes that I'm using as comparables. And, I'll point some different things out with that. But he really liked the detail that I put together in my report. So that's what really got him going.
Gotcha.
Some people just want to see the bottom line. You can get this for the house. And that's one thing that I won't do is I'm not going to jack the price of the house up to get it.
Okay.
I don't feel that it does me no good. It does you no good because now you've got high expectations. Oh, I can get 500,000 for my house when it's really only worth 450. And I've lost out to agents like that.
So be specific on that. What do you mean you've lost out? What specifically, what have you lost out to?
So I've gone up in competition with agents for a listing and I'll do my presentation. I'll show them, I'll bring it, I sit down, I go through it. Well, here's the bottom line. And I'll do a range from, let's say 425 to 450 for an example. And I'm good listing anywhere in that range. And the next guy came in and he probably said, I can get 490 for your house. And the client calls me up and says, "Hey, Will, we're going to go with the other agent. They just had a higher price." Or they just said, "Hey, we're going with another agent." Then I see it listed.
Yeah.
And it's $40,000 higher than I came up with. A lot of times when it finally sells, it's right in that price range that I had.
Sure.
Sometimes lower, because if you price it wrong and then you're chasing that market down.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard it called buying listings, where a realtor or a licensee will go and they'll just tell the consumer, whatever they think the consumer wants to hear in terms of
Yep.
price to get the listing, when in
Yep.
fact, there really isn't data to support it. Is that fair?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing
Yeah.
you say is that you really pride yourself on the ability to accurately reflect what the market is doing and
Yep.
price their home to sell. I think I've heard it like this, Will. Some listing agents, they think their job is to just list homes. My job is to list and sell your home.
Exactly.
And if it's not priced appropriately, that's a big disservice to the consumer. Is that fair?
That's very fair because let's say we price a house at 480
Mm-hmm.
and it's really worth 450.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of consumers, like you say, we can always come down, we can't go up.
Hmm.
The seller
Right.
will say, well, we want to price it high because we can always come down in price, we can't go up. Okay, that makes sense, right? But if it's priced at 480 and it's worth 450,
Mm-hmm.
the general public knows because they're working with real estate agents that know the market. That house might not get shown, or it does get shown at 480, and people realize when they see it that it's not worth 480. You know what? We're going to go look at this house down here, and then this one sits. And then if you don't do a price reduction right away, it sits for 30 days. Now you're chasing the price. Okay, now we're going to bring it down to 475. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's still going to sit there. Now all of a sudden you're chasing it down because people think there's something wrong with the house when it's nothing wrong with the house. It was just overpriced,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So that's what's going to cause it to sell for less than it was actually worth because it's just going to sit there and sit there. And then finally, somebody's going to write an offer. They're going to go lower because it's been sitting there for 60 days.
Yeah.
And then the sellers are freaking out because, gosh, nobody's offering on my house. We finally get an offer. Oh, we better take it.
Yeah.
So,
What are some of the factors that are important to you to consider when accurately pricing homes? I know that's a big question, but given your experience, what are some things you go through to make sure that you're pricing home accurately and given the appropriate information to the seller? Okay.
where it's at, condition of the home. We all know as realtors, there's great areas of town, there's other areas that aren't as desirable. So that's going to really take a factor in what a house is worth. The maintenance, the condition of the home. If you go over, it needs paint or the siding's bad or the roof is shot. First thing I'm going to do is ask my seller, when's the last time your roof's been
Ah,
done?
okay.
And if you're watching this and you are from our area, you know that we get a fair amount of hail in the
Mm,
summer. I would say 80% of the homes in Rapid City have had a roof job. Maybe 80 is too high, but 80 should have had roof jobs. I'll put it that way. So that's the first thing I ask. That's going to be a big one that
okay.
comes up on a home inspection or an appraisal when we sell the house. And it's a big expense to the seller.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we want to make sure that that's taken care of. If they haven't had a roof done in a while, I've got some roofers that I trust that I would ask the seller if I could send over and give an estimate. And then that seller can turn it into insurance.
Okay.
And then that's peace of mind. They get that done. It's going to help with the sale of their house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how much are roofs these days? 25, 30,000 on a lot of homes,
I would
more.
say easy. That's conservative. In my opinion, that would be conservative. But yeah, that's that ballpark for sure. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. And most people don't have that. So if a buyer would say, you know what, that's fine, we'll just take a discount
Mm-hmm.
off the price of the house. Well, a lot of times insurance companies aren't going to insure that house. They'll
Okay.
insure parts of the house, but they won't insure that
That
roof.
roof. Okay.
And that's something that a buyer might not realize till it's too late.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Interesting.
so condition, so location, what the urgency is for the seller.
Okay.
So let's say that you got a new job in Colorado and you've got to move there in 3 months.
Okay.
Well, we've got to price that house accordingly because you've got to move.
Ah, okay.
And I can't buy a house in Colorado till I sell my house here in Rapid City.
Okay.
So we need to price that correctly. So I want to find out your motivation as well.
Sure. So it's fair to say then that not every seller, it's all about the most money. Is that fair?
Oh, that's very fair throughout the years that I can think of
Yeah.
right off the top of my head that I bring the CMA and I have that price range and they'll pick the low end.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I've had that on. I can think of two right off the top of my head that they've done that is because I got to get going.
Yeah. Yeah. So consumer hires you, you've agreed to terms and fees and time frame and price. And, in my opinion, the consumer has hired you to be their trusted resource to guide them through this process. Because is it fair to say that selling homes can be a pain in the behind and emotional for a consumer?
We try to take that fear. I mean, it's scary
Yeah.
anyway. You're going to be nervous. You're going to do that. You're going to feel uneasy. Um, some people get really wound up because there's a lot of showings right away.
Mm.
I'll call them up and say, "Hey, we got a showing at 10. We got another showing at 10:45, and then we got one at 1." Sometimes people work from home now, so we've got to schedule around that. It's really makes the seller kind of uneasy. So we try to work around that. When I'm sitting with you, I'll say, "Hey, Sean, I know you work from home. What are the times that would be best for you to have showings?" We could do it. We could have a big open house the first weekend and just say, "Hey, seller works from home. We listed on a Thursday.
Hmm.
Seller works from home, really hard to do daytime showings, would prefer evenings, or we're doing an open house from noon to 5 or whatever
Yeah.
on Saturday. Bring your clients by then,"
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. So there's all sorts of different things that you can do, but I'm kind of getting lost. What can we do? Like I say, we
Yeah.
set times. I ask them how they want to be touched. How about a text or a call? I'll reach out to them every so often and give them updates, even if there's no updates, at
Yeah.
least once a week. But anytime there's a showing, you're going to be curious on what the person said, right? So I reach out to that buyer agent right away and I'll say, "Hey, what did your clients think?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's tough. Sometimes, oh, the carpet was filthy or it smelled like dogs or whatever, but you've got to be upfront with your client. And that's one thing I am. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If they say the house smelled like dogs, I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
"Hey, Sean, the house smelled like dogs." That's going to turn off a lot of people. Is there something that we can do? What do you think we can do? We've got carpet cleaners, guys that come in and
Sure.
can do things like that. So we can definitely help with stuff like that.
So your skill set really extends beyond economic market knowledge, filling out contracts, logistics of showing. There's a little hand-holding, massaging, communication skills are great. I know you to be of a really even temperament, which in my real estate experience, it's a big plus because you don't want your real estate agent to get all out of sorts and emotional in
Oh,
the
right.
process. You want them to be what I say, the adult in the room, so to speak, when you're going through these transactions. Yeah.
Right. And your seller is going to be emotional. I get it. I mean, I've sold houses too. My
Yeah. Yeah.
personally, you get a little wound up and they didn't like my house, they didn't do that, or oh my gosh, we got an offer that's $30,000 low. What's wrong? And I say, "Hey, Sean, it's okay. Number one, we don't have to accept the offer that
Mhm.
they brought. We can counter it. We know I'm very confident that I feel that your house is worth what we listed it at. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to say, all right, emotions out of it. We know you're not going to take 30,000 less. What would you be willing to take?" And I'm going to ask you that question.
Okay.
"Well, I think it's worth the 480 that we listed it at. Well, Sean, okay, that's great. It's been on the market now for 10 days. And remember, I said after 10 days, if we don't get an offer or an accepted offer, we're going to bring that price down. And you agreed to that. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what would you take? So basically, what should we lower it to?
Gotcha.
That's how I would do that. So you gotta stay calm. And inside, I get mad too.
Yeah.
I priced the house that I feel is right, and I'm getting a 30,000 low offer. Yeah, I'm not real happy either
Yeah.
about it. But we know that people are just a lot of times just testing the waters and see what they can do, right?
Okay.
So together, you and I are going to come up with a counter offer or a price that you would be happy with.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's other things that are involved in an offer. There's sometimes they ask for closing cost assistance, or they might ask for the hot tub that you
Okay.
were planning on taking, those kind of things. So we sit down and we construct what's called a counter offer, and then we present that back to their agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So a potential seller's listening to this. As best you can, share with that potential seller that wants to come with you, what are some things that they could be doing to prepare to list their home with you before you even came over? What are some things that maybe I'm not listed, maybe I don't need to sell for another 30 or 60 days? What are some things that I could be thinking about now prior to even talking to you as my realtor?
Deferred maintenance, number one.
Okay.
If you've got peeling paint, if you've got crushed gutters, if you've got a roof job that needs to be done, you need your deck stained, torn screens and cracked windows, declutter.
Oh,
Declutter
okay.
is a really good, it's your house, right? Some people love having pictures all over the wall. I've gone into houses that are like one whole wall has got their kids' graduation pictures and grandkids and everything. And that's cool. And that's yours. But I'm going to say a lot of people can't see past that. When they come into a house, you'd be surprised how many buyers I've taken into houses and they go, oh my gosh, they'll look at that wall, or it's green, or, something like that. And they can't get
Yeah.
past. And I say, you know what? You paint it. You've got to look at you, but some people can't get past it. So declutter, deferred maintenance, things like that. Clean it.
Yeah.
A deep cleaning would be great. Manicure the lawn. If it's in the summer, make sure everything's nice and trimmed up and everything, especially for pictures and stuff like that.
Okay.
In the 20 years I've done this, one of the big things that I have gotten better at that was really tough for me at the beginning was telling people that their house was dirty.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I consider myself a nice guy, and I don't want to walk in and say, Sean, your house is a mess. So I've gotten to that point now where it's like, you've got to do it.
Yeah.
And some people's clean, you
Interesting.
know, yeah,
I see where
some
you're going.
people's clean isn't what mine would be. I there's some people that I think, hell, they did a great job. And then you'll have,
Yeah.
oh, the house is filthy. And I'm like, really? I
It's
didn't think it was
funny.
that bad, but
I know you've got older kids. Mine are still younger, and my idea of a clean room is a lot different than my 16-year-old's idea of a clean room. Is that kind of where we're going?
exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that house is ready to go, because
Okay.
I tell my clients, we've got that house listed at 450.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that your house is the best $450,000 house out there,
Yeah.
because that's what's going to sell. If you're living in a subdivision where there's 6 houses for sale and they're all priced at 450 or right around there, you want to make sure that yours stands out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you want to, and the last house that sells in that neighborhood isn't going to sell for 450.
Yeah.
It's going to sell 420 or less,
Right.
probably.
Right.
So, but the one that sells first is probably going to sell for right around that asking price. So that's number one. And the best deals that I have had, in my career have been when I've gone in, I've told the clients, suggested the clients on what to do,
Right.
and they do it. When I go to list that house and put it on the market, everything that I suggested, they've done it. House looks great, and you get an offer within the first week. So
Yeah.
that's just the way it is.
Yeah. So you've given the clients, the potential clients, an opportunity to, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Here's how I'm going to serve you. I'm excited to talk about one of the tools that you have in your toolbox. Tell me, you've got a number of tools at your disposal to help homes get sold. So
Mhm.
talk about that and some of those tools that you have depending on the
Yeah.
client's needs.
Yeah. So I believe you're talking about USA Home.
Yes.
So that is something that's brand new in my tool belt, as you would say. You can list a house in the traditional way where we put it on the market, we sign a listing agreement for 4 months.
Mhm.
We put it on the market, we put it on Facebook, we put it in the MLS, and just kind of go down the road with it and see what we get. A couple months ago, I was brought into a platform called USA Home Bids, and very interesting. Right now, there's probably only about 3 or 4 people in the whole state that are certified to do this, and it's passed. I've talked to my MLSs. I've got 2 MLSs that we deal with.
Okay.
They're on board with it. Everything's good. It's legit. We do like a 2-week listing agreement. Okay. And in that 2 weeks, we're going to hold 5 open houses.
Okay.
And let's say an example for you, Sean. I know you work from home and you don't like the fact that, hey, at 1:30, I got to leave
Yeah.
to get a showing. The only time that house is shown is during those open houses, and we do 5 of them.
Okay.
Okay. Buyers come in and we put it out there on social media. We put it out there on the MLS. It's listed on the MLS. Anyway, buyer agents bring their clients to the open house, sign them up on the platform.
Okay.
So if you're a buyer agent, you bring your client in. They bid on the house.
Okay.
And they have 11-day period where they bid. And you can follow along on the platform. Okay, this house, let's say this house is worth $450. So Sean, you want to get $450 for your house.
Right.
Okay. We're going to list it at $325 or $300.
Right.
And you're thinking, whoa, I don't want to sell it for $300. Well, no, you're not going to sell it for $300. Number one, you don't have to sell it, period. Even if somebody wins the bid, you don't have to sell it.
Got it.
Okay. It's totally in your control. But what this does, it's a quick process. It eliminates the hassle of showings at all different times. It creates urgency, and people consistently bid up the process. You as the seller can sit and watch it on the platform so you know who's bidding. Okay. All right. So let's say bidding process is done and the top 3 people came in at your price or right around your price. I'm going to call up those agents that represent those people, and I'm going to say, hey, congratulations, you were one of the top 3 bidders or top 3 winning bids. Go ahead and write it up on a purchase agreement and present it to us. The cool thing about that is the buyer pays a 3% buyer agent premium. So the buyer's paying for their agent.
Okay.
So you as the seller, you're only paying me. Okay. So that's another thing that's really cool about it. So anyway, they write their offer. Okay. And we get the offers in, whether all 3 of them write it or not. And we look at that offer, and then we get to see their terms. Maybe they're cash, maybe they're a VA loan, maybe they've got something and they're asking for fees to be
Yeah.
paid. Also, it's just a regular purchase agreement then.
Got
So
it.
there's nothing funny about it. It's just kind of a shorter period of time, creates urgency, and creates multiple offers.
Okay.
We look at those offers, and if we don't like them, if we want to change something, we counteroffer them.
Okay.
It's just a normal process.
Okay. And so who's an ideal client? What sort of circumstance is this ideal for?
I would think it's somebody that wants to be out quick, somebody who is maybe busy and doesn't have time for a long drawn out listing process when you're on the market, a
Right.
market process. Somebody that wants quick results and needs to have something done quickly. It wouldn't be any different if in a hot market you put your house on the market and it sells in one day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And if you get your price, that's awesome. Somebody that wants to sell it quickly, somebody that wants to save on a buyer commission.
Yeah.
Generally, the listing, you list it, and part of the fee that you're paying goes to a buyer agent
Okay.
until August 17th.
Then that changes a little
But
bit.
yeah, that changes a little bit, but still, somebody like that, it'd be ideal for.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So outside of you being a great guy, somebody who's level-headed and easy to work with, easy to get a hold of, you communicate well, you've got these tools in your toolbox. In wrapping this up, what do you want to kind of leave the sellers with or the consumer with right now before we sign off?
Well, I think you should use me as your real estate agent. I've got great integrity. I am loyal. I'm honest. I'm going to deal with you very, very fairly. I mean, and I'm
Yep.
sure all agents say that kind of stuff,
Yep.
but I really do. I mean,
Yep.
I'm very thoughtful of my clients. I've got an assistant that helps through the process. Once we get it under contract, things move very smoothly. Attention to detail is there.
Yeah.
We handle everything. If you've got problems, we don't sugarcoat it. We don't sweep it under the rug to hope we can handle it or it goes away.
Sure.
If you've got a problem, we deal with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, very few, I'm not going to say no deal falls apart because they do, but very few of them fall apart and very few of them have issues that cannot be resolved.
Okay. That's fair.
And my experience, I've
Yeah.
done it for 20 years.
Yeah, for sure. So just again, I'm a little biased because I really like you, but if you're listening to this and you need some advice in the Rapid area, then you need to get a hold of Will Dixon. So there'll be a link or some information at the end of this video. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, they can call you, they can email you. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
Call, email. I'm always available.
Yeah. Yeah. But I know you are really big on creating value and making sure people are educated. So whatever question you have, make sure you reach out to Will Dixon there in the Rapid area. So I really appreciate you spending time with me and telling us a little bit about you and how you can help sellers in your area, buddy.
Thanks, Sean.
All right.